NBC10 breaking news.
Fire, where a peaceful demonstration took a violent turn tonight. Fires burning across the city. Right now, flames raging at a building at 17th and Walnut, a block hit heavy by looters and vandals, although it's still unclear exactly how it started. And right now, police are trying to clear the streets to put an end to the violence and bring some calm to this city, shaken by the police custody death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. This was the scene across Center City tonight. Cars and police cruisers torched as massive crowds watched them burn. A Starbucks in flames just steps from City Hall. Storefronts along Walnut and Chestnut Streets smashed and ransacked as looters took whatever they could carry. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keith Jones.
And I'm Denise Nakano. There's now a curfew in effect for the city of Philadelphia. It's been in effect since 8 o'clock, and only people with essential duties are allowed outside until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now, one of the first violent signs of things to come happened earlier this afternoon at Broad and Vine. That's where Skyforce 10 captured a state police vehicle on fire while demonstrators and police filled the streets.
We want to show you this. Our crew has been spread out across the city tonight to serve you, monitoring what's happening. We're going to send it back now to NBC10's Aaron Baskerville. He's out there at that fire scene where there are a ton of people out there. Aaron, tell us what's happening.
Keith and Denise, yeah, we're at 17th and Walnut right now. This area is completely blocked off. A lot of it is blocked off by officers in riot gear, as you can see standing right next to me. A lot of the action is behind us over here at the building. That is the Van store that is on fire. We do have a view from Skyforce 10 from above. Presumably, firefighters are telling us this fire was set by looters earlier tonight. So the past hour or so, they've been trying to fight this fire. They're hitting it with water right now as we speak. And I can tell you, they've been pushing people back from this area big time here. Officers have been rushing the looters who have been coming down here, trying to disturb the peace and cause chaos. If we can break away from that fire for a second and just come down here below. Once again, we're at 17th and Walnut. Just a quick tour of what's going on around here. You can see people are upset and fired up. You can see on the Chase building right there, I can't breathe. Obviously in honor of George Floyd, the man who was killed in Minneapolis. This did start as a peaceful protest, but did turn violent. This is the Lucky brand. This is what you're going to see up and down Walnut. I can tell you almost every single storefront has been broken into, windows smashed. You can hear the sound of the alarm. That's also a familiar sound if you walk the streets. One more thing, let's just come across the street again. You can see the heavy police presence down here, cars lined up as far as the eye can see. There are still some small smoldering fires. That's a mannequin that was set on fire right there. And over here, you can just see still a little fire smoldering in the clothes over here. This is the Urban Outfitters. And you can see what the folks did inside here. Windows smashed out, broken. And like I said, this is a familiar scene. You can literally look inside every single storefront out here. I don't want people to forget what this was truly about in the beginning. It was about a peaceful protest in honor of George Floyd. But of course, that took a turn earlier tonight. And once again, 17th and Walnut, the action continues to be on the Vans building that's on fire right now. We're going to be out here, of course, for the next hour or so, giving you some updates. We'll talk a little bit later about this curfew and how police were really focused on the curfew around 8 o'clock tonight, pushing people back, a lot of violent confrontations. We're going to have that for you later on in the show. Let's send it back to you guys, Keith and Denise.
All right, Aaron Baskerville live for us down at that fire at 17th and Walnut. Aaron, thank you. Officers made several arrests, by the way, along Walnut Street during the Center City chaos.
Our cameras captured members of the police strike force team take suspects into custody earlier tonight.
We want to show you this, too. Take a look at some smashed out storefronts near Broad and Arch. So this was not just secluded to one neighborhood. You could see glass scattered across the sidewalk. Other demonstrators here walked around on the sidewalk with signs, with that heavy police presence around. Let's go out to NBC10's Drew Smith. He's live. He's been seeing this looting firsthand. And like Aaron Baskerville, Drew, you've been walking the streets all day monitoring this. What have you seen? What's the latest?
Well, Keith, we're one block up from where Aaron is at the corner of Rittenhouse Square Park. You can actually see that the bank here has been defaced in multiple areas, as well as all of the stuff that people have left behind from their looting, and a lot of the firefighters are coming back from that fire at this point. But we aren't seeing the looting going on anymore because police really did show a big show of force after there were several hours of looting, particularly in this area. I want you to take a look just down this street, and you can just see it's trashed. All of that stuff that people took out of the stores at the now littered Walnut Street here, there's just coat hangers everywhere you look, and the glass. If we kind of move a little bit, I want to show you just the hole in the side of this bank. This is the second TD Bank we've seen defaced tonight. The first one was over at City Hall. Somebody actually breached the bank with a big gate that they used. But you can see the hole in the side of this one. There's graffiti all over the place as well. So no business was spared from a lot of the looting that went on. On the other side of Walnut Street, you see this is some of the prime retail area in Center City, Philadelphia. These are really fancy shops. They have a lot of expensive merchandise inside of them, and people were smashing the windows and going in and just loading up with as much as they could and running off. Again, that stopped after 8 o'clock when the curfew went into effect and police came out and started making arrests, but this went on unabated for quite a bit of time. We spoke to some of the people that live down here. I asked them, looking at this, how do you feel about it? People just say it's horribly sad. They don't know how these businesses will come back, especially after the pandemic that we've been going through, and that's been tough on them as well. But there was a lot of merchandise in these stores that's no longer there. I also spoke to one other business owner. He owned an eyeglasses. He was selling those, and somebody had smashed his window down. He came out and was trying to stop people to come in, and one of his neighbors actually came down who was armed, and they were able to save that store and the merchandise in there. So it was kind of people battling it out. If there was an owner, they were able to try to salvage. This place right here is a bar, and we saw the owners in there trying to sweep and clean up, but there's going to be so much cleaning up to do in the city of Philadelphia. Many of the blocks down here on Chestnut, Walnut, Sansom, we saw fires. We saw a lot of merchandise. Even pianos were being thrown into the street and destroyed and defaced. We're live in Rittenhouse Square. I'm Drew Smith, NBC10 News.
Looting going on even in front of the eyes of the camera. All right, Drew, thank you so much. And NBC10 has been hearing reports of damage near Reading Terminal Market, and that's where NBC10's Stephen Fisher joins us live. And Stephen, what are you learning?
Yeah, Denise, we're actually over on 15th and Walnut right now, and again, it's a similar story over here. Check out this T-Mobile store. You can see that all the glass here, nice storefront, all smashed in. Doesn't really look like itself. There is just debris and glass everywhere, and this goes on for blocks, as you just saw with Drew and Aaron as well. But if you come down this way, we want to show you that some people used some different types of things to break into some of these stores. If you see Butcher Singer here, just inside this smashed-in doorway, you'll find a bat, a baseball bat, also some sneakers there with a price tag still on it. People took all kinds of different things. We have all certain kinds of shoe boxes all out here, wrappers, there's hangers out here, there's a pair of jeans just sitting in the middle of the street here. A lot of mess on Walnut Street, pretty much up and down here. You can see across the street here, the Champion store was ransacked as well. And as you just keep going down and down and down, as Drew mentioned, there is not really one business that was not affected in a major way. Even some spray paint there on the outside of PNC Bank. So just a lot of debris, a lot of different kinds of stores that were hit. Now, fortunately, you can see that we're walking in the middle of Walnut right now. We have police on this side of us, and we have police down here. They do seem to have a control of this area of Walnut Street at this hour. That is the good news. But again, you can see everything that was all torn down. People were here for a long time, and they took really didn't hold back at all when they went and tried to take things. We've seen people with duffel bags. People walked out with certain kinds of shirts, and again, as we mentioned, all kinds of different shoes. But again, police are trying to make sure that people are going home. The curfew, of course, is in order, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. We have seen some people arrested this evening. We've also seen police just try and usher the crowd and try and disperse this crowd as peacefully as they can. We'll send it back into you guys.
The day started, of course, peaceful when the protest went from City Hall to the Art Museum. An estimated 3,000 people joined together on the steps, and even took a knee for justice for George.
But then things took a turn. The statue of Frank Rizzo was vandalized with spray paint, and hundreds of people tried to take it down. They tied a rope and tried to topple the statue of the former police commissioner and mayor of Philadelphia. And several buildings were set on fire across the city. The Starbucks near City Hall went up in flames around 6:30 tonight. Here's what it looked like on the ground and what it sounded like. You could hear there the sound of loud explosions. NBC10's Brandon Hudson joins us live from 12th and Market. Brandon?
Yeah, hey, Denise, what you're seeing right now is police just actually caught up some people who were looting. They had a bag from a bunch of other places. Police told the guy to drop it. The guy dropped it, and he kept walking down the street here. But this is what we've seen police do all day. We are outside the Wawa on 12th and Market here. You can see people hit this place hard. The shattered glass on one side of the window, but you can look inside, see food is all over the ground. The cash registers are destroyed. The place is wet because we heard from police that someone set fire inside, and then people just kind of came in and took whatever they wanted. They broke in through this glass door here. This gives you a good look at what's going on inside and what happened inside. Drinks are on the ground. Signs are knocked over. But as we come around here for the Wawa, again, you can take another look at what's inside. I think if you look closely towards the other entrance of the store, you can see some food was burned. They knocked over where the water bottles were, and they took water bottles. But to give you a point of reference, we're at 12th and Market, just down the street from Reading Terminal Market. Things have gotten a bit calmer now, but they did board up this Hard Rock Cafe. May have suspected something was going to happen tonight, so they took their proper precautions. Traffic is able to move through, so is foot traffic, but we're kind of caught in the middle, and this actually just formed within the last few minutes right as we're going live. But you see a long line of police cars, you see a SWAT vehicle that's also in line over there, and then you see another officer who is actually walking through the crosswalk. He's got another bag, possibly from someone who was looting a store. They're going to take that bag over and collect that and do whatever they can with it. But as you said, this day did not start out like this. It started with a peaceful protest, and here's what happened earlier today. Philly police in full force as the citywide curfew stretched into the night next to a smoky Wawa at 12th and Market, which police say someone set on fire. Cops hauled in several people suspected of causing chaos during the city's first day of protests sparked by the death of George Floyd. Before sunset, frustrations had already reached a fever pitch in Center City. Skyforce 10 flew over two vandalized Pennsylvania State Police SUVs at North Broad and Vine Streets. One SUV burned as a large crowd watched and some confronted police. Then a shoving match developed yards away overlooking 676. Philadelphia police called in backup as the first day of demonstrations in memory of George Floyd took a chaotic turn. The day's events started organized with chants and marching against police brutality. From the streets of downtown Wilmington to a neighborhood in Camden and the heart of Philadelphia.
What brought me out here today was when I seen a video of him crying for his mama. That really broke my heart.
Teresa Costello made her sign based on George Floyd's final words caught on cell phone video. As a mother who lost a son to violence, Teresa sympathizes with Floyd's family.
This needs to stop, and we're fed up and we're tired. And people have no way to express their anger and pain, so that's why they loot and do things that they shouldn't do.
Video of George Floyd's arrest and later death after a Minneapolis police officer kneeled on his neck sparked all kinds of emotions coast to coast.
Sometimes I like to go out and take a drive just to clear my head. I was scared to go out just to get pulled over, especially where I live in West Philly. You get pulled over for nothing, and you never know how it could escalate.
Even after the cops involved were fired and one was arrested, buildings burned and businesses were vandalized. Some of what happened in Minneapolis is now happening in Philly. It halted public transportation and forced one woman to walk home from JFK to Temple, walking boot and all.
Like I said, I understand they're angry. I'm mad. I'm tired. You know, I'm 67. I'm tired of seeing things. You know, and these young people don't understand. They don't understand the struggle or how to struggle. So all they know is, you know, to be volatile.
Now, we came up Market on the other side of 12th Street, right across the street from the Lowe's Hotel, but we wanted to give you a look at the line of police cars. You have a van from Delaware County, you have Philly police. This is what we pointed out earlier before we went to our story. This is our SWAT vehicle that's around here. You have police that are also out just talking to people. This line just formed within the last 10 minutes or so. So you have a lot of law enforcement that are here, maybe expecting a crowd to move this way towards Market, right by City Hall. I will point this out. We're right across from SEPTA, and if we have anything else, we'll bring it to you. We're reporting live here in Center City. I'm Brandon Hudson, NBC10 News.
All right, Brandon, stay safe out there. All right, Skyforce 10 has been bringing you some incredible images all day long, including that of a fire at 17th and Walnut. Aaron Baskerville is standing by. Aaron, you've been there all day. Heavy police presence there as they continue to battle it.
Yeah, Keith, it just sparked back up, as you can see from the ground. If we can take a view up there a little bit, you can see the glow. It just continues to glow, and we believe it's jumped to another building. Of course, Skyforce 10 live above this fire as well for you. And this just happened just in the last 2-3 minutes. The flames sparked once again and started to rage from that Vans building up top. You can see just the glow. It's going like crazy. We are at 17th and Walnut. This started at the Vans building down here. Presumably firefighters telling us that they believe it was started by looters. And now you can see from above at Skyforce 10 that this fire has fully started once again. They were battling it, shooting water at it from below. There was just a kind of heavy smoke scene here, and then all of a sudden you can kind of see that glow happen. And like I said just a couple minutes ago, you can see those flames and Skyforce 10 giving you that great view. We do believe it has now jumped from that Vans building over to at least one other building out here in the 1700 block of Walnut. So this is where all the action is right now. Skyforce 10, like I said, giving you that great view. If you come back out here live, you can see right here it's being protected by anybody coming down to this area by cops in riot gear. And they've been standing guard, protecting this area. This is also part of that curfew that was going on starting at 8 o'clock tonight. And we are just getting word that we believe it's now jumped to another building. So we're looking at possibly 3 buildings right now that are on fire in the 1700 block of Walnut. And this is an area, obviously, that people are very familiar with, but I can tell you, you come down here tomorrow, it's going to be a completely different scene. Every single storefront has windows blown out. Looters have taken advantage. If we can burn it right now, this is what this was all about. This is what everybody down here will say: justice for Floyd. This is a bank building. Remember, this did start off as a peaceful protest, and then at some point today, later on this afternoon, it started to turn into a violent protest, then of course looting, and this curfew thing is that we're going to get to that in a little bit. We have some video of violent confrontations between police and some of the looters that were out here trying to push them back, get them out of the area, and really enforce that curfew for folks out here. But once again, look up top, the glow, it starts to glow again. It's just kind of reignited in the last couple of minutes out here. I don't know if we can go back to Skyforce 10 as well to give you that view from above, but this is the center of it all at this point right now. There are all sorts of firefighters down here and officers just trying to protect the scene for now. We're going to send it back to you, Keith and Denise, and of course we'll be out here. We'll come back to you in a few more minutes with some other stuff from this area.
And speaking of first responders like firefighters and paramedics and the police officers there behind you, you have to then consider that they're also dealing in a pandemic as they try to keep the peace here. More than a dozen of them injured, in fact. Aaron Baskerville live for us there outside the fire. Thanks. Mayor Kenney earlier today, about 8 o'clock's time, city and religious leaders, they spoke out in a unified front tonight.
Yeah, they said what happened today is unacceptable and that it only detracts from the message peaceful protesters are trying to make.
None of today's acts of violence or damage to property will do anything to restore faith and trust between the police and communities of color.
Trust me, do not burn down your own house. That is never a good thing. Do not burn down your own house.
We have to also ask ourselves, do we want to take away from the point in which we're trying to really make out here? We have a city in which we have to go back to post-corona. And if we destroy everything, what is it that we'll have to go back to?
We are the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And we live by that meaning.
That is what we need: peace, calm, and order. And it will take a unified, collective, and consistent effort to accomplish this.
A joint plea right there. And earlier tonight, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf announced that more staff has been added to the state's emergency management agency. The governor says his administration is ready to offer assistance needed to keep communities from suffering from more violence. Now, the governor also released a statement on Twitter. It says, quote, "Throughout Pennsylvania, people are protesting violence and injustice that occurs far too often against people of color. Everyone should speak out. No one should be at risk of harm because of oppression or racism."
All right, of all the surreal and sad scenes we've seen today, this one right here sticks out. A man playing piano inside a looted store. We're following the fallout from today's protest on air and online. We're live out in the streets of Philadelphia tonight. Next, how police are trying to gain control of the situation now that we're more than 3 hours after curfew.
Poker Stars has landed in Pennsylvania. Play for real cash on the greatest table games or take a spin on over 100 slot games. And we'll even match your deposit up to $1,500. Download our app or play online at pokerstars.com.
The open road, the wind in your hair, the feeling of freedom that drives us to go out and discover. At Chevy, we're committed to getting you there with confidence and peace of mind. If you need a new vehicle, we have leases available on select 2020 models where current qualified lessees can practically sign and drive. You may even shop online and take delivery at home where available. And when you do, your Chevy Clean dealers commit to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers, so you can find new roads with confidence.
The summer of 2020 will be unusual and historic. Let us write the story together, enjoying the weather while staying safe. Wear a mask when you're outside. Keep up social distancing as we keep up our spirits. The usual destinations may not be open or may have restrictions. Conditions may change, so check websites as the summer goes on. Let us make history by enjoying the sunshine and together beating COVID-19.
What's for dinner?
You're ready to drive again, and not just to the neighborhood store. In a new Honda, you can enjoy the open road with powerful performance. And your money can go farther too, because Honda holds its value better than any other auto brand. Your Honda dealer is offering flexibility, like shopping online, so you can purchase with confidence. Get your new Honda today. KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand.
Poker Stars has landed in Pennsylvania. Play for real cash on the greatest table games or take a spin on over 100 slot games. And we'll even match your deposit up to $1,500. Download our app or play online at pokerstars.com.
Help support our frontline heroes and stay in shape. Join NBC10 in making a fitness and financial pledge to hashtag Fit for the Frontline. Proceeds go directly to Temple Health and Penn Medicine. To learn more and donate, go to NBC10.com/FitForTheFrontline.
Skyforce 10 has been following the chaos in Philadelphia from above. Right now you're looking at the fire at a building in Center City. 3 buildings are on fire. In fact, you see that smoke pouring from this fire that's actually reignited in the last few minutes. This is at 17th and Walnut, a block from where looters have targeted, but it is still unclear how the fire started. All right, now we want to check out this video earlier in the day when tensions between police and protesters started to escalate. Again, this started peacefully. You could see officers and protesters pushing each other. Several things then were tossed at police. And tonight we're also seeing looting in parts of Wilmington. This was some of the damage left behind.
Yes, several businesses along Market Street were broken into tonight. Police worked to clear out the crowds and even brought in an armored vehicle to help out. Now, the looting came hours after police had to temporarily shut down part of I-95 near MLK Boulevard after protesters got on both sides of the highway. Skyforce 10 shows dozens of people standing on the interstate as police blocked the lanes with their patrol cars and traffic cones. The interstate was eventually cleared and has since reopened. And in South Jersey, a peaceful march for justice in Camden this afternoon. Camden County's police chief joined dozens of demonstrators as they all marched from the police administration building. Some of them held a huge banner as they walked along there.
All right, a look at more of the chaotic moments during protests near Philadelphia City Hall this afternoon. Protesters threw barriers and construction cones on this armored vehicle here. Police ended up using pepper spray to disperse that crowd. And this was the scene along Broad and Vine in Center City. You can see some thick black smoke, and look at those flames in the distance. That's from a car fire not far from a large crowd. Police later fired tear gas to control this crowd. We're going to be back with a check on the fire burning on Walnut Street in just a bit. Firefighters have a disaster on their hands. 3 different buildings here ablaze. We'll be right back.
Cancer won't wait. It won't wait for a convenient time or for hospitals to get back to normal again. That's why at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we aren't waiting. We're right here in Philadelphia, still focused on the only thing we do, providing world-class cancer care all under one roof. Because cancer isn't just what we do, it's all we do. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Call now for an appointment.
Raymore and Flanagan's ready to help you open your home to summer at our Memorial Day sale. Save 15 to 20% on everything. Find new furniture and accessories for your living, dining, and bedroom. And relax outside with new outdoor furniture, all at 15 to 20% off. Plus, get fast, safe, no-touch delivery. And enjoy no-interest financing for 48 months. Shop RaymoreFlanagan.com to make your home your happy place.
At WSFS, we're making it as easy as possible to bank with us through our MyWisFis app. By simply texting, you can connect to a MyWisFis banker of your choice to initiate transactions, answer questions, and much more. Live banking from the comfort of your couch. Download the MyWisFis app today at WSFSbank.com. Or if you're not a customer yet, open an account online today. WSFS Bank. We stand for service.
On the Lehigh County Commission, Dean Browning sided with liberal Democrats and cast the deciding vote for a $16 million tax hike. Dean Browning has been too liberal for too long. That's why President Trump is endorsing conservative business owner Lisa Scheller. Scheller passed permanent tax cuts for Lehigh County, saving taxpayers over $40 million. Conservative business owner Lisa Scheller, endorsed by President Trump.
I'm Lisa Scheller, and I approve this message.
Feel like getting back out there? Nissan is ready to help you with a bold, award-winning lineup and great offers. Kick off summer with a low $189 per month lease on the 2020 Nissan Rogue. Or lease the 2020 Nissan Sentra, just $149 per month.
Welcome back. Take a look at this. Protesters torched cars in the streets of Center City tonight. Philly police say at least 3 police cars and a Pennsylvania State Police car were torched. Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw also says at least 13 police officers were hurt during the day with injuries like chemical burns and sprays. The city is under curfew tonight. That started at 8 o'clock. Everyone told to be inside.
Yeah, NBC 10's Aaron Baskerville joins us live. And Aaron, not everybody is listening to that curfew.
Denise, there's still people out right now, and to be honest, there's people looting across the street from us. But I just wanted to show you something real quickly that Keith was just talking about. One of those cars, it's right here. You can check out this Philadelphia police car, just absolutely torched, and right across the street, looters, right over there, Jason, walking out of Modell's over there with just, unfortunately, armloads of clothes on hangers. And this is part of what police were trying to do and are still trying to do. They're trying to enforce that curfew that started at 8 o'clock tonight. But people are still going into the Modell's. Before we get to some other video, let's just come over here, Jason. We can show you the Modell's window over here that's broken into over here. And people are still going in and out. People are actually driving into the city and picking up clothes that are on the ground. And then you can see this is the Modell's right here. Right now we're in between 16th and 17th on Walnut. But let's go to some video that we shot earlier tonight. This was part of the police enforcing that curfew. Violent confrontations with some folks out there on Walnut. You can see that police officers at one point tackled at least a couple of people trying to control them as they were going back and forth, shouting at each other. This was the process that they were doing around, this was actually 9 o'clock, a little bit later than the 8 o'clock start of the curfew, trying to push people back, push them back off the street. And here's what one of the demonstrators told us as he was getting pushed away by cops.
The country needs to see this. I'm telling you, you're going to have to extract something deeper. This is the pain that's been taking place for how long?
Keep moving.
For how long?
Keep moving.
For how long? This is why people are angry. Right? Hey, I just want to call hey.
So right there, you just heard some of the frustration, some of the anger that some of these demonstrators are feeling and experiencing. Let's not all forget this started as a peaceful demonstration in honor of George Floyd, who was killed in Minneapolis. That officer, of course, we all now facing third-degree murder. Also, take a look over here. You can see. You can see. You can see. Let's send it back to you guys right now.
Yeah.
But there are still people, of course, out on the streets, and they are still very upset and very angry.
Yeah, 3.5 hours rather after the curfew. Aaron, thank you so much. We've been watching that fire, by the way. Aaron was just there at 17th and Walnut. The pilot of Skyforce 10, Dan Kent, joins us now. Dan, you've been flying over this fire, that billowing black smoke. You've seen it reignite. What does it look like now?
Yeah, as soon as we think that the fire is almost out, it actually starts to flare up again. As you can see, now is one of those times when it's actually flaring up. There's also a massive amount of smoke, and this smoke has been blowing across the city from west to east. There's a pretty steady wind up here, and we could actually smell the fire burning all the way from where we take off from over at Penn's Landing, and the smoke is actually going all the way over to Jersey, over the Camden, New Jersey. But you can see again, now it's actually just started to flare up again. It seems to calm down, and then once we think it's under control, it catches some more fuel and ignites again. The firefighters are putting massive amounts of water down there. You could actually see the water running off the roof of the building down onto the sidewalk. But as you can see, once again, it seemed to have flared up.
You know, and take a look at this image. If you've never been to the city of Philadelphia or Walnut, they're closely packed in businesses there. It looks as though this is a difficult fire to get to, Dan. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is either, fenced in either by Moravian Street or Chancellor Street. Give us a good idea of where that fire is, because it looks like the only way they can attack it is by air, no?
Yeah, you're right. It's actually in the middle of the block there, and you can see they have one ladder truck right there that's extended. There's actually a second ladder truck over there, and they're trying to fight it from the air, like you said. There are also firefighters on the ground that are putting water in the second and third story windows. A while ago, we did see firefighters on the roof, but since it has picked up there, we haven't seen them. And there are also a few firefighters on the back of the block there that are actually fighting it from the back as well. But like you said, it's a tough fire to fight because it is in the middle of the block there.
A lot of historic businesses there, a lot of big name businesses along Walnut. All right, Dan Kent live for us from Skyforce 10. This is by far the most active situation taking place, at least taking the attention of our first responders or firefighters there, police blocking that area. Of course, this started during these protests. It's not exactly clear who or what or how the fire started. Important to note that.
Yeah, we saw the beginnings of that fire around 8:30 during our coverage when Skyforce 10 was over 17th and Walnut, and even from the ground where we had Drew Smith at the time, and you could see looters going all along the street. One went into the van store, and then you began to see some smoke at around 8:30. Now, some 3 hours later, we are seeing these flare-ups happen and this fire spreading to other buildings as well. So something definitely to watch tonight, and just part of the chaos that's here with us in the city. Well, Minnesota's governor has mobilized the National Guard in an effort to restore order following several days of violent protests in Minneapolis. Those protests stem from the death of George Floyd while he was in police custody earlier this week, and we've seen violent protests here in Philadelphia and dozens of other U.S. cities. NBC's Chris Pallone has the latest, and we do want to warn you that some viewers may find the video in this piece disturbing.
No justice, no peace.
In dozens of American cities, what started out calm has descended into chaos once again. For a fifth night, people are pouring into city streets to protest. Spurred by the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis Monday. Police officer Derek Chauvin, fired after video emerged of him pinning Floyd's neck to the ground with his knee, has been arrested and charged with murder and manslaughter. But that arrest has done little to quell the anger or solve the systemic problems laid bare Monday night.
I'm frustrated and I'm angry and I feel powerless.
Many cities have imposed curfews. Some states have called up the National Guard to try to stop property destruction, looting, and violent clashes between protesters and police. While many of Saturday's protests remained peaceful, some did not. In Tallahassee, Florida, a pickup truck surged through a crowd of protesters. In Los Angeles, rioters destroyed police cars and took over city buses. People threw bricks at police in New York City.
There are white supremacists. There are anarchists. There are people who are burning down the institutions that are core to our identity.
President Trump said further violence will not be allowed.
But what we are now seeing on the streets of our cities has nothing to do with justice or with peace. The memory of George Floyd is being dishonored by rioters, looters, and anarchists.
But in Minneapolis, protesters say they will keep Floyd's memory alive while pushing for the other fired officers to be arrested and charged in his death as well. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
You saw President Trump there. He did address the country and the protests happening across America. Today, he said what happened to George Floyd was a tragedy and should not have happened.
I spoke to George's family and expressed the sorrow of our entire nation for their loss. I stand before you as a friend and ally to every American seeking justice and peace. And I stand before you in firm opposition to anyone exploiting this tragedy to loot, rob, attack, and menace. Healing, not hatred, justice, not chaos, are the mission at hand.
And the president also said he asked his administration to open a civil rights investigation.
NBC10 has been hearing about reports of damage all over Center City. And NBC10's Stephen Fisher is live near Broad and Walnut. And Stephen, what are you learning tonight?
Yeah, Denise, Broad and Walnut right now is as calm as it's been in a few hours. You can take a look across the street here. You have a good group of officers. They are shutting down Walnut, not letting anybody go in, trying to disperse any crowds that come by. And right now, if you take a look up or down Broad Street, go ahead and take a look whichever way you want. There's really not much going on. Not a lot of cars coming up and down and not a lot of people. So it seems like this curfew, at least in this area, is starting to kind of work. People are moving on. The very scary events earlier today, and this is over on 7th and Chestnut. An officer was ran over. Let's go ahead and show you some video we have. When we were out driving around the city, we had found this earlier. A 9th Street District bike officer was attempting to stop people who in a vehicle who were involved in looting a business in that area of 7th and Chestnut. The individual then ran over the officer while trying to escape. Now, the officer is at the Jefferson Hospital with a broken arm and other injuries. We're told the driver was in a white SUV. Immediately after this happened, they did take off, and police were looking for that car. When we got there, though, the ambulance was still there. It was surrounded by officers. And earlier in the mayor's press conference, they had mentioned that 13 officers were injured up until about 8 o'clock. That was, of course, much earlier. We don't know how many more have been injured to this point, but we do know that that bike officer is in stable condition, again, with a broken arm and several other injuries. And if you want to bring us back out live now to corner of Walnut and Broad, we have more police officers just arrived here on scene. Again, this is a very calm part of the city right now. Of course, much more calm than some of where my other colleagues are at the moment. But you have a lot of officers right here ready to be deployed to wherever they need to go, really at a moment's notice. But that's the latest out here at Broad and Walnut. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Stephen Fisher reporting for us there. Let's send things over now to NBC10's Aaron Baskerville. He's at 17th and Walnut. It has been said that this part of the city where you are, Aaron, would be difficult to recognize from yesterday to tomorrow. Tell us about what you see. You see that burned up car right behind you.
Yeah, Keith, it'll be a far different Philadelphia in this area that people are used to seeing. And two of the finest over here, the officers, they have been clearing the streets, and they've been making it a point the past 5 minutes, literally chasing after looters, chasing them out of stores, chasing them off the street, trying to enforce this curfew. You can see one of their cars right here has been torched and burned up. Just one of the things that have been happening here with the looters. Let's walk across the street here to the Models. This is where people have been looting. The past 5 minutes, these great officers here have been literally chasing them off the streets and out of the stores, telling them to drop their stuff that they were stealing and just trying to enforce this curfew. Models over here, you can see the window is torched out. Take a look inside. There are people have literally been driving down here, getting out of their cars and going inside here. And you can just see some of the damage. As you said, it's going to be hardly recognizable in the morning, a lot of this area. Just some of the damage. We'll continue walking down here, and we're in between 16th and 17th on Walnut. And down here, they're still fighting a fire here. A fire has jumped to about 2 or 3 different buildings over here. It started in the Vans building. Presumably, the firefighters telling us looters set fire in that Vans building. That spread. We had showed you that earlier with Skyforce 10, and they've been fighting that a lot as well for the night. There's some of the graffiti over here is just too graphic for television. We don't want to show you that. But look, this is the scene over here. You can see police in riot gear. They've been protecting the scene, trying to enforce that curfew as well. For the night. But you can see, just as we walk down here, you can see a lot of the broken windows and glass. We showed you Lucky Brand right over here, smashed out windows, the sound of alarms just ringing through the night. It's a familiar sound down here. And here's one other thing we'll show you, of course. Protesters angry. Their message right here, I can't breathe. They spray painted that on the Chase building. We'll show you one other thing. We'll walk across the street if you follow us over here. This is the Capital One Bank building. And on the side of the bank building over here is the reason why this started in the first place in the beginning. You can see justice for Floyd. These are messages that you'll see all across the city in this area. And this is where still some of that action is over here. This is that building. Firefighters still hitting it with water at this hour. About 20 minutes ago, just a fiery glow started and it sparked back up again. So we've been standing guard. We've been seeing literally, once again, looters coming down here within the past 20 minutes, hopping out of their cars, literally picking stuff up off the streets. So police are really, right now, if anyone is out here, they are really trying to enforce this. They are going after people, running after them. We've seen that. So let's send it back to you guys, and police will continue to be out here trying to enforce this curfew.
All right, Aaron Baskerville live at 17th and Walnut, where that fire, as you mentioned, had started in that van store, presumably by a looter. And covering the looting all day is NBC10's Drew Smith. He joins us live there. And Drew, you've seen it from the very beginning, even after the curfew was ordered, and people were still out there looting the streets.
A lot of brazen behavior, Denise, and we've actually moved up from Walnut Street. We're on Chestnut Street now. Police have closed this street to traffic and to even people walking down. They don't want people walking down because there's so many businesses that are exposed right now. Right over here you see, this is the DeBruno Brothers grocery store. They've had workers come out. They've been working for the past 30 minutes just trying to sweep the streets, trying to clean up all of this mess that's going on down here. They're one of the few business owners that came out here. We saw another guy that was waiting. A lot of people have put out calls to people to see if they can come out and board some of these businesses up. As I mentioned, a lot of them are just exposed. Right here, there's a candle shop. We were live on television as we saw someone throw something, a rock. They broke the glass, and then just really dozens of people pouring in there and then running out with all sorts of merchandise. And I want to show you this spot over here. This is a T-Mobile store. It's one of the few stores on this street that has actually been open during the pandemic. You can tell because they've got these markers where people were supposed to socially distance. None of that was going on today, as this place was ransacked. There's really nothing left except garbage that people had left behind. People stole phones. They were coming out with anything they could grab. We even saw people going into the back employee areas. And then if we can walk over here, I'm actually going to show you. And this is an interesting piece of debris that's still on the street, and that's the cash register from that store. So we just actually saw somebody come down, and they picked it up. They tried to see if there was anything in there, and also strewn about the street, lipstick, coat hangers, just all sorts of stuff that's going to have to be cleaned up, and that's going to be a big job. So again, the cleanup is the next focus down here. Police keeping people off this section of Chestnut Street. They don't want anybody walking. They don't want anybody driving down here until these business owners can try to at least start boarding up their places of business. And we'll see when they'll be able to open again. We knew that Friday was the date that some of these retail stores were going to be able to allow people back in after this pandemic. Friday was the day we were moving into yellow. We'll see what comes of that. We're live in Center City. I'm Drew Smith, NBC10 News.
Good point, Drew. And to set the foundation for this, too, if you think about it, there are people in hospitals right now in Center City, Philadelphia, being treated for coronavirus. There's a deadly pandemic going on while all this is happening. We are closely monitoring the evolving situation as the protests have went from peaceful to violent.
Yeah, we now go live to NBC10's Brandon Hudson. He's in Center City. And Brandon, you were covering the peaceful protests and then quickly saw that evolve later on in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's right, Denise and Keith. We were at City Hall. We were at the Art Museum steps where this whole thing kind of got kicked off around noon. It was peaceful. People were marching. People were chanting. There was no signs of any violence. Then around 3 o'clock, things kind of took a violent turn. I want to show you this, though. As things have calmed down here at Market and 12th, look at these bags. These are bags that police collected from looters. You got batteries, you got a baseball cap, you got Bluetooth devices. I see cigarettes in there as well. You have shoes, number of shoes, then you have some clothes as well. This is right outside the Market at 12th and Walnut. This is a place that was hit pretty hard. You can see the glass here, shattered glass that is all over the ground here. Someone came in, looters came in. They broke in the store, they tore up the register, they tore up the signs, they tried to take a bunch of food, a bunch of sodas. They came over to this window, they busted the window. Inside, you get a good idea of just how much this mess extends out to. So you see the fire hydrant that's right there in the middle of the ground. That's because police say someone set fire inside this Wawa. We don't know yet if police have caught that person. We will work to find that out. But there you go. Glass is falling. We got to move out of the way because glass is falling out here this window. But I want you to come around here to the other side of the Wawa because we give you another look at what's inside this store. The ground is wet. There's about an inch, half inch of water that's inside. The chips were knocked over. This is a place where we kind of saw the action begin before it moved to where you saw Aaron and Drew and Steven. But police have pretty much calmed things down here. You can see the group of officers that are right here working crowd control, making sure people can get home as this curfew has taken place. We did see a number of police cars that were lined up here on Market Street go down towards the old city area. But since our last report, we haven't seen a lot of people moving in here. We've seen groups here or there, but again, police have been telling them to move home. We also did see at the Macy's up the street, closer to City Hall, we saw a number of people get arrested, get taken into custody. Same thing here at the Wawa. We saw people taken into custody. I'm sure as soon as we get that information out about the number of people who were detained, we'll pass that along to you. Reporting live here in Center City, I'm Brandon Hudson, NBC10 News.
All right, Brandon, thanks. It was a day that started with peaceful demonstrations. You see about 3,000 of them gathered along Aikens Oval and the Art Museum, and then suddenly It escalated into violence with fires, police cars set on fire, vandalism, some violence, and a gigantic fire on Walnut Street. You see all of the people that were out today that continue to be out as police continue to enforce this curfew that began at 8